Welcome back to Beyond the Words, Psychodynamics that coaches can actually use. I am Julia Rogers. I am an MCC accredited coach. I'm also an EMCC senior practitioner and accredited coaching supervisor. More than that though, I am an absolutely passionate advocate of psychodynamics in coaching, and I really think that it is something that's missing hugely in our industry, and it's my mission to bring it back so that we can do better for our clients. Now, last week we talked about playing with fire. This week we're going to talk about what happens after the moment where something tricky or difficult has happened. So, you know that feeling after a session that felt big? You know, there might have been a lot of emotion in there. There might have been some truths that were surfaced, a bit of heat. And even when it's done, it's kind of not really done. Maybe the client leaves the session, you finish the session, and you're thinking, it doesn't feel over to me. It feels like there's stuff left about. A bit like when after fireworks night and all the fireworks have gone off, and then we can see all the smoke around. So this is exactly the same thing. So we're thinking about intensity in the moment. This one's about what happens after. What happens after those sessions? You know, we have that quiet, the quiet period. There's the wondering. Maybe we've got a little voice that says, did I go too far? Did I hold that well enough? Now, give yourself some grace with this, because we will all have these moments. And when we think about it, real depth often happens in the aftermath, when we stay with what's being stirred. I remember when I did my first coach training course, one of the things that they said was we should aim for at least one aha moment per session. Now, that would be lovely if we could whip up these aha moments to order. It doesn't work like that. Often the aha moments come after the session, maybe when we're washing our hair, emptying the dishwasher, walking the dog, doing those mundane things where actually we can do the work and we can do the thinking around it. So why? What is happening here? Well, heat leaves some residue for both the client and the coach. I once had a supervisor who described it as, things sticking in your creases. And it's that kind of almost as if a dandelion's been blown at you and you've got all those bits and pieces still stuck to you. So it's there's something there. We're left with bits and pieces. And most of us, we try and tidy up far too fast because we can't bear the anxiety that's going on here. We reassure, we normalise. What we really want to do is we want to move on. But that can be a defence. What it's doing is, understandably, it's protecting us from discomfort. But what that means is we're not able to access the learning that's happening here. So one way to think about it is, to integrate everything that we've learned in these moments, we need to reflect. Otherwise, we stop at catharsis. So what I mean by this is without reflection and meaning making, emotional intensity stays just as a release. It feels powerful in the moment. I mean, venting can feel incredibly powerful, but it doesn't necessarily lead to transformation or insight. And this is where we can get stuck. We can keep repeating those patterns. We can keep coming back and venting and getting cross. Nothing's actually happening with it. So let's have a think about the difference between rupture and repair, because this is where we can see what needs to happen and what will make the difference. So when we're talking about rupture, we're thinking about any wobble in connection. Now, this can be subtle or it can be incredibly obvious. What do I mean by this? Well, your client might feel unseen. Maybe they pull back, you pull back. Maybe there's an awkward silence. We're taught in coaching that, silence is important, absolutely. And we need the silence so that the clients can work on, can process what they're thinking, particularly if they're verbal processors. But there are different types of silences, and we all appreciate that awkward silence, where something feels off. It can be bringing up early patterns for the client. Maybe there's some rejection. Maybe they've been told lots of times that they're too much, and something's happened in the session that they felt where they're too much, or they feel that the coach is giving them the vibe almost that they're too much. So it's all this stuff that can be happening for the client in the moment. And it also stirs our stuff as the coach. So guilt, self-doubt. A really common one here is the urge to fix. So when something has gone wrong or when there has been a rupture, as a coach, what we can be absolutely desperate to do is race in and fix it. Not necessarily the best idea. However, when we think about repair, this is where we're naming it and we're staying present. We're not running off at the first sign of escape that something difficult has happened within a session. So we might say something like, something about last time has stayed with me. I wonder if that's true for you too. Again, we're going to offer this. We're not going to assume that that's right for the client. We're offering it and seeing if the client picks it up. A really key point here is we aren't apologising unless there's some harm that's been done. If we've said something wrong, if we've really made it worse, then obviously we need to apologise. But we're not apologising for there being this derailment in the session, because sometimes it really needs to happen for things to emerge. What we're doing is we're staying curious. We are present with the client. We are saying we're not running away. Yes, there's been a rupture, a wobble. We're not running away from it. We're here wanting to reconnect. We're not we're not putting this down as that's it, we can't work with this person again. There might be cases where we can't, but not essentially. And what we're doing is we're shifting it from wrong to real, because we work with people. It's a very, very human endeavour, coaching. So we're going to have these moments. We're not bots. Our clients aren't bots. And if we avoid rupture, what we're doing is we're keeping things safe. Not a lot gets done in your comfort zone. Chances are your clients haven't come to you because they want to stay in the comfort zone. They want to make changes. They want to move forward. So we don't want to avoid rupture. What we're thinking about is repair, and repair builds depth. And this is the lived experience of psychological safety. Because when you think about it, if you've only ever been in a relationship where everything's fine all of the time, then it's not really psychologically safe, is it? Because there needs to be this appreciation that when something happens, that it can be contained, that there can be repair there. When rupture happens, there can be repair. It doesn't, we're not glossed over and a kind of like, oh, move along the bus, please, nothing to see here. That's not what we're after at all. We're here to make sure that we can repair what's happened, and that's where the work is. Now, we've got some common coaching reactions here, so I'm going to invite you to have a think about where you might see yourself. Really common, we've all been here. So we've got the fixer. This is someone who reassures too soon. And particularly, I think, when you're starting out as a coach and something goes wrong in a session, you really want to fix it, because you want your client to appreciate that, you're not there to make things worse. You want things to be okay. So you race in to fix. We've got the avoider as well. Now, the avoider is like, we are not talking about this. We're just going to move straight on to your goals here. Let's see about how we're going to move forward. Again, when you think about it, it's really tempting, isn't it? That this is where you want to be. Much safer, nicer to be here than to actually look at what went wrong. And we've got the overthinker. Now, this is someone who analyses privately, avoids naming what happens, just really retains it and keeps it for themselves. Might not even talk to their supervisor about it, but they absolutely ruminate on it. Doesn't help, because it's then you're getting stuck in your stuff and you're not able to move on with the client as to where they need to be and address what had happened in the situation. So be honest with yourself. Have a think about which one's yours when things feel off, because they will do. It's going to happen. Now, how do we work with the residue? A key thing here is slow down. Don't rush to tidy it away, because then it's going to add to the difficult feelings that are there. we work very much on containment, and particularly when I'm teaching, I teach a lot about the ideas of containment, and it's not control. I think sometimes people worry that it's a controlling aspect of the work. It's not. It's about emotional steadiness and the importance of this. And really important here, notice your own pull to soothe or to explain, because this can be quite a good sign of countertransference and what's happening within the countertransference. Key point again is we are not doing therapy, but we are modelling healthy repair. So, we're not therapizing the client, we're not at all, but we are thinking about how we can healthily repair a relationship. So some key pointers for you to take away today. What helps you process? So I've touched on supervision already, so it might be supervision, it might be journaling, it might be going for a walk, might literally just be stopping and taking a pause and really thinking about what happened, really reflecting on it. Reflection is key. Reflection metabolizes experience into insight. So what I mean by this is there's a process that happens when you reflect, and that it gives you the insights and the clarity as to what happened and what you can take forward from this. It is not the rupture that defines the relationship. It really isn't. But it's about the repair that makes it real. It's going to happen. Now, going back to our kind of key topic around the heat around this, emotional heat isn't the danger. It's gonna happen. But avoidance is. If we don't look at this, if we don't acknowledge it, if we don't have some awareness around it, that's where the problems lie. And rupture and repair, so this thing that we could actually end up feeling quite anxious about, like, oh, everything must be okay, relationship must be okay, can't tolerate any rupture. We kind of need to, because that's what builds the trust and the depth. We're thinking about those good old ICF competencies. We're very much competency 4 here around cultivating trust and safety. Now, if this resonates for you, and hopefully it's sparked a few moments of insight for you, this is exactly what we explore in Essential Psychodynamics for Coaches. It's all about where theory meets real world practice. I'm thinking about January now. I've already got some incredible coaches signed up for it. So if you are interested, I will pop the link in the comments. I'll be back here next week with another session of Beyond the Words. Anyone's ever got any topics that you'd like me to cover, do get in touch with me. I'm quite happy to consider a suggestion. And there's also my podcast, Dynamics of Everyday Life, if you want a little bit more psychodynamic fun. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, everyone.